This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. First of all, your thoughts on the Teron Armstead situation?
Yeah, I think Teron's been dealing with this since that first week. I think I reported it after, but he left that game in a walking boot. Every game after, he's been heavily limping after. So we've seen him play through it, but it's clearly bothered him. It's clearly not 100%. So it was something they were trying to battle through and see if he could manage. And clearly today he couldn't do it. And so the question now is, does he have to miss time if he sees a specialist and they require him to get surgery or get some time off? And if so, how much time? Because he's a huge cog to their offensive line. We saw it today. I mean, there was a lot more pressure. Like Skylar held on to the ball a lot longer. That was a part of it. But Teron also holds down, even 80% Teron holds down the left side that these other guys don't. So definitely huge news. I mean, the reality of it is this: Teron Armstead's a top 3, top 5 left tackle in football when he's healthy. The knock on him has been that he hasn't been able to consistently stay healthy. So that's just the reality of it. Like, football's tough. I'm not saying that it's fair. Injuries happen, but the reality of it is, he hasn't had a history of staying healthy. And so this will be a situation where you gotta hope that you can get him healthy, even if he has to miss a little bit of time. To me,
yeah. To me, this is a rough one because it's now becoming a bad signing, pretty much. And
I think it's a little early for that. We haven't seen him miss time yet.
It is. We'll see how it finishes, but it's working its way to that right now because it's already been a disappointment. Really, let's be honest now. It hurts the line that he can't practice throughout training camp and all that because you're worried about him. And clearly there's been something going on because they've been worrying and babying him throughout this whole process. Now he has the toe injury. And so it's just one of those things that it's a shame because that's such a key person to this entire line. And I just hope he doesn't need surgery because then it becomes a bad decision that you played him when maybe you could have rested him to a certain extent and say, okay, let's get you back. Like what they're doing with Byron Jones, that he's obviously not healthy and they're going to let him get healthy until they bring him back. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a lot of injuries now that are definitely impacting the team. Like Teron Armstead, obviously Tua is the first one that impacts you heavily. Teron Armstead, he's probably a top 3, top 4 most important player on this team, and just putting in Brandon Shell, it helps. It makes you get through a game, but that's a significant downgrade. Like a huge downgrade, and it changes how you can run your offense. It changes how much you can take deep shots. Everybody loves the Tua deep shots, right? You can't throw deep shots if Tua is back there only having 2 seconds to throw. And so,
and as people are pointing out on the board, Greg Little also was,
Greg Little, like it was a thing for 2 or 3 weeks where you're like, hey, kid, is he going to stay the right tackle all year? And maybe that's because obviously there wasn't a great view of Austin Jackson coming in, but backups get exposed. As you leave them out there longer, they get exposed for what they are. So that's just the reality of the situation. And so that injury is impactful. Like you mentioned, Byron Jones, they expected him to be back a lot sooner. And so, when you look at him, when you look at Xavier Howard, when you look at that on defense, this is a team where I think particularly in defense, we thought this team was going to be coming back and looking like they did over the second half of the year. The reality is they have looked a lot closer to the first half of the year for much of the season defensively. And a part of that's been the lack of pass rush without blitzing. A part of that has been Byron and Xavier not being healthy, and you having to play a lot of young corners. Kader Kohu's been a really good story, and he's played well to an extent. But like I said, some of these players, Keon Cross and today, Noah Igbenogany, you play a lot of these guys who are backups, and eventually they get exposed. And so we're looking at a team that was 3-0 with a lot of hopes, and this is the AFC's contender, and now they're hurt, and you see some issues with depth, and now you're like, what the heck is going on with this team? And so this is a very interesting period they're going through because they got the Vikings this week, a Vikings team that isn't a great team, but it's a team with Justin Jefferson, who I think Justin Jefferson had 100 yards in the first quarter, I think, today. Kirk Cousins started 17 of 17, and they still almost lost to the Bears. But either way, their passing attack, along with Dalvin Cook, that's not what you want to see coming into a game where you got a banged up Xavier Howard. Doesn't seem like Byron Jones is any close to playing either. And so, there's a real possibility they lose 3 straight, and they're at 3-3, after this week. And we look at that team a lot differently than we did 3 weeks ago.
Does this speed up the Tua return?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't, because the reality of the situation is it's not an ankle. It's not something that you should be able to play 75% on, right? Like if it was a high ankle sprain and you're like, hey, we'll put Tua out there even though he can't run super well and he's a little bit limited, but we'll make him play through it. Or the back injury initially, right? You could have him play even though he's not 100%. This is a straight, is he cleared or is he not type deal. And so I think you'll see him go through the protocol. It wouldn't shock me if for whatever reason he does clear the protocol and can play. But it also wouldn't shock me if he has to miss another game or two. And so,
by the way, it sounds to me like he could have played today.
So he's still in the concussion protocol.
I think he's one of those dudes. Ethan Carter is not.
Right, but I think this concussion protocol stuff, as we've learned over the last week, is very serious. And so the fact that he's still in the protocol means he shouldn't be playing. So he's good enough to talk with his teammates and be hanging around and smiling and making jokes, but is he good enough to get hit again on the football field? No. So I think that he's got to go through the protocol and make sure he's good. So whether that happens this week, next week.
But it seems like he's been cleared of all the stuff so far. All the tests have come clear, right? Everything.
So here's a little bit of clarity here. The X-rays have come clear. The MRI and the CT scan. That's all saying that there are no broken bones. They're saying there's no tissue broken, and the CT scan said, hey, there's no major brain hemorrhage. Right. That does not mean that he doesn't have a concussion. You still have a concussion, even though all those things are clear. So maybe that's our job as reporters, not making that clear enough. But he does still have a concussion. That part is not clear. He's cleared everything else as far as like, hey, this dude is not paralyzed. He doesn't have any contusions that are gonna like impact his like quality of life. But he does have a concussion, and he has to go through the protocol as shown. And so because that one was very bad concussion. You could see it end up missing multiple games. That wouldn't shock me. But that's something we won't know until probably.
I thought it was the Pittsburgh game. I thought he would come back for the Pittsburgh game 24 days. But after this loss and you're down to your third guy, yeah, I'm kind of thinking they might speed. And plus, Teddy is like, well, no, Teddy went into the concussion protocol after Tua. So, they can kind of play that card too, And by the way, please, let's not. At least on this show, I'm not taking anything the NFL does serious. Okay. No.
So here's what I would say. On Teddy in particular, his situation, based on what the team is saying, is that he passed all his concussion tests and he does not have a concussion, does not have symptoms. Now he's technically in the protocol because of the new rules, and those rules are being more cautious than not. And so this may be a situation where in the old protocol, Teddy would have been cleared to return and he would have been good. And so he still has to go through the 5-step process. But if he does not have a concussion now, he should be able to get through that 5-step process and be able to play on Sunday, at least based in theory, if Tua can't go. And so ideally, since if that situation is what it looks like, then you would still have Teddy for week 6 if I'm just putting the pieces together. But like I said, the other concussion, like the Tua concussion, which we know is actually a concussion, that one's a little bit different.
Yeah, I just they're not the group I'm trusting on any of this in the first place. This is all for me a whole bunch of PR bullcrap, because it seems to me like they follow the protocol. It's just now because of the optics, they had to feed the lynch mob some meat. So they threw in the doc.
I do think like there's been different responses on how they've gone about it, but I do think there is some caution and some optics that play in all of this. And I think you're going to see a lot of dudes like Teddy today who have been ruled out of games that probably could have kept playing. And their view of it is we'd rather be safe and rule out people who don't have concussions than be sorry and let people play who do have concussions. That's their view of it, but it is going to screw over some teams and some players. And I think it's going to become a bigger discussion if we get to playoffs and you got a Patrick Mahomes or you got a Tom Brady or you got that sort of thing, and you see the spotter sees you upstairs and he rules you out and the guy doesn't have a concussion. I think that probably ends up being a big deal. And I think the NFL probably knows that. And like I said, they would rather have this be the evil than to be viewed as a league that doesn't care about concussions, which was the narrative for the last week when Tua was going through. It was like, hey, they don't care. They say screw them. And so I think they're like everything is reactionary and you overcompensate on how you do the protocol. So that's
for years, I thought that the NFL and the players would end up coming up with a waiver because just to avoid lawsuits and say, hey, man, the risks. Here you go. You sign the waiver. You're playing this game. We'll try to protect you, but we can only protect you from yourself so much. It's up to you. So if now teams start losing players, like you said, in key moments to clinch a division title, a bye week, a playoff spot, or in the middle of a playoff game or a Super Bowl, and you don't allow somebody to finish games, which the league is littered with the history of players finishing games all effed up with all kinds of injuries, right? And they would have done it all over again. So I just wonder, are we going to get to that point? I know the PR side for the league, they don't want those scenes because those scenes don't sell the game to young people and parents, and they don't allow their kids to play and all that kind of stuff. So I know they're worried about the repercussions for future generations to even get in the game. So I understand that part, but you can't stop a grown man who wants to get back in the game. And if they do check out, then why wouldn't you let them back in? Even if their bell was rung, why wouldn't you let them back in? If you run them through the protocol and they check out everything, their reflexes, everything, and they want to go back. What's the difference between the fireman that goes into the fire into the blazing building? What's the difference between anything that anybody does that is crazy in their work or hobbies or whatever like that? Hey, during the pandemic, some people chose that they did not want to wear the mask no matter what.
Right.
That was their choice, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, do we ever get to that point?
I think it's an interesting question, right? Because I think it was like that before we became more informed of the concussion element. I think, like, I talk to old players and they tell me they probably played half their games with a concussion, right? And so they did that, and I asked them, hey, would you have done anything differently if you knew now? And most of their answers are no. I made money from my livelihood, but a lot of those players now are dying from CTE and have CTE found in them. And so it's the give and the take, right? And so I think the element that the NFL, like you mentioned, wants to protect itself from is that it's a league of business that makes a lot of money for a lot of people. And like most businesses, they want to prevent themselves from having liability and causing long-term health. As you've seen,
waiver.
And have you seen in years, like there's a lot of players who've ended up suing the league based off of how they've handled their health protocols. And so I think a lot of that is that perspective. And there's also, I think, a feel from probably fans who watch the game, like we're watching a game. And so like the professions you mentioned, like firefighters, police officers, these are people who are saving legitimate lives as they do their job.
An MMA fighter, bro. Come on,
right,
dude.
But I'm saying, yeah, but I love MMA and boxing, right? But there are doctors who have.
But MMA is worse than boxing. Like
true. But here's what I will say that
in every match that there is, like every card.
Yes.
Dude, come on.
So here's what I would say about MMA and boxing though. If a player gets their bell rung, they have to be suspended for mandated 3 to 6 months, and they cannot fight again or train again or be in the gym after that. And so the boxing and MMA have these rules and they're set. And so the NFL put these rules.
How many guys have you seen or women that are getting their ass beat and they're kind of wobbly and they still get the 7 count or whatever?
Oh, no, you're right about that. You're right about that.
And they're continuing that fight, and there's probably some kind of a concussion going on in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if a dude gets knocked out, if you lose by knockout, you have a mandated amount of time you cannot enter back in the ring. And so I'm equating, like, I think boxing MMA is way more contact to the head and more, direct than football. But in football, the new rule, which I'm not saying I love it as written, but I understand that they had to do something, especially given how public the Tua thing was. Their new rule is, hey, if it looks like you stumble, you're out.
Right.
For at least the rest of the game. And to me, it's almost like the targeting rule. It's different, but it's the same. Like the targeting rule in college, right? A lot of people don't like that rule because you automatically are out for the rest of the game. And there will be some hits that were like, that guy shouldn't have been kicked out of the game. But the goal is we try to take those hits out of the game and have the players be more cautious. And yeah, we might kick out a dude or two who shouldn't be kicked out. But ideally, it makes players think about it because they know they could be lost for a game if they get hit that way. And so to me, this is similar in that respect, that you're trying to be more cautious than reactive, which the league has often been on these issues, just reactive.
What could have they done differently if you were the coaches today? If you wanted to get a different result, what could have been done?
Wow, there's quite a list, Big O, because this is the worst game they played all year by far. But I think this is the worst I've seen them play probably since
the worst quarter, right? Because it was a close game through 3 quarters.
True. The fourth quarter was horrific, but I would say like this team resembled to me a lot of the first half of 2021, where to me we focus so much on the offensive side of the ball. So I want to focus briefly on the defense side of the ball. This is a team where they're playing the Jets, a team that does not have a great offense, maybe a good offense, even that may be stretching it. They gave up 40 points. Zach Wilson was going with ease. They were having coverage busts. Breece Hall was like, there was nobody within 10 yards of him on that 79-yard play there, busting up big holes there. This is a team that's supposed to be assignment style. They brought back all 11 starters, so there's supposed to be continuity. And today they were just exposed. Today, to me, they were outcoached in a lot of different aspects, particularly in the second half. And frankly, they just played sloppy football. And so I think that this is an element where.
But they didn't bring back the 11. When you're not playing with X and Byron, you're not bringing back the 11. And when you're putting Needham on the outside, you're hurting your team because he's really a slot guy, if you're really honest with yourself. So you're not looking at it fairly because that defense complete. If you took Pat and Sam off of the defense back in the day, Jason Taylor and the boys would struggle a lot more because they didn't have the back end island guys that could take people out and take two of the top players off your offense out of the picture, just like X does, which is what they were doing in Cincinnati, that they had X taking one guy out and then they had Holland, rolling over and taking care of the other corner. So, it's not a fair judgment to say, oh, they've got the same 11 back there. That was
right. So that's why I said the injuries do play a factor here, but I'm just here's what I'll say. I don't like making excuses for teams that get blown out. Like if this is one play difference, if they're like, hey, if Cater or Noah got beat on a deep touchdown and that was difference between a win or loss, I might say, hey, X back there, you win that game. That was difference between a win or a loss. When you lose 40-17, not having X and Byron or even Tua out there is not a 23-point difference.
Yeah, but it's also mistakes that you made with the third string quarterback, dude.
Oh, correct. Skylar did not play well today. Skylar did not, and for a lot of people who wanted, a lot of people who said, hey, Skylar should be playing ahead of all these people. This was a little bit of a wake up call that, hey, this guy played really well in the first half. I mean, in the preseason, but not today. It's different when the bullets are flying, and so I think that this team had a lot to look in their face with. I think, like I said, they got a Minnesota team coming through that I am worried that their defense is going to get exposed again. And so the one positive is they ran the ball and they got the ball to Raheem Mostert, who has been clearly their best back this year. And I think this is a team that, especially while Tua is out, they're going to have to lean a lot more on that run attack. And the one thing offensively is they scored 14 points in the first half. They ran the ball very well, over 100 yards rushing, and then they went away from it in the second half. And they put it more on Skylar's hands, and Skylar couldn't keep up with the Jets offense. And so that's something that I think if Mike McDaniel looks at the tape today or tomorrow, he would say, hey, I would like to get that back, where I would love to just keep the ball a little bit more in Raheem's hands, even if it's little dump off screen passes instead of runs. You know, you use your playmakers more than just having your third string rookie quarterback hold on to the ball for 3-4 seconds looking downfield.
I'm with you there. I do understand that, but if you look, Mostert, how many carries are you going to give Mostert? And remember,
as many as he can handle.
Well, that's you have enough injuries already as it is.
Right, but so if you don't want to give more to Raheem, then give a few to Chase, or give some.
Okay, well that's more like it, but you got to also understand that's a guy that's coming back from a knee injury.
Yeah.
So you look at it, and Raheem Mostert had 18 carries for 113 yards. In today's NFL, 18 carries is a lot, especially for a guy like Raheem. So it would have to be Chase, but Chase, I guess
Chase had a couple drops in the first half today. That's why I don't know if you noticed, but Chase Edmonds essentially got benched for Myles Gaskin as the second running back in there, and so you saw a lot of more Myles in the second half because Chase wasn't catching the ball, just to be frank. Right. I mean, there was a lot of dudes who couldn't catch. Tanner Connor, who was another preseason darling, had a pretty bad drop today.
But God, again, he's a rookie. You got to just there's got to be a developmental stage. For
it is. And I think it's a little unfair, but I think it's something for the fans who want to crown people based off what they see in training camp and preseason. Just let you know that it takes time.
Wait, hold on a second.
Because Big O, don't give me you gotta admit.
No, wait a minute. Let me go after you now. Because you're right about going after the people that expected Skylar, whatever, to be your savior, but you're also being overly critical on the Dolphins when they had to rely on the Skylars and the Tanners and whatever the names are of the people that played tackle today, or Noah Igbenogany, who really just, it's really like this experiment is kind of over. And so when you're stuck playing a whole bunch of people and there wasn't anybody else then Mostert actually playing in out of that, it's not fair too. You're also being overly critical on a team that's missing their tackles, missing their corners, and you're expecting the same kind of production.
Just the reality of the situation. You get beat 40-17 to New York Jets. I'm going to be
just the fourth quarter.
It is what it is. If you want me to say, hey, it's okay. They had a lot of dudes hurt. We're going to get better. And they're not going to lose
three quarters. They were it was 19-17, right? For three quarters.
I understand that, but how many quarters do they play?
No, but
if they played a 3-quarter game, then you say, "Oh yeah, we played them tough. We played the New York Jets tough."
You're making it sound like they got their asses kicked for 4 quarters when they only got their asses kicked for 1 quarter.
Oh, that's enough. Quarter. That's enough.
Well, I mean, it's enough when you're only hanging on to a thread with the talent that you have.
Right.
I feel like 2 of the last 2 years when I keep telling everybody the coaching's not there, the talent's not there, give the kid the coaching, give the kid the talent. Same thing here. I mean, I give Mike McDaniel his pieces back. And
here's where we're different. Like I feel like I can be critical without saying that Mike McDaniel is a bad coach for losing this game. No, I don't think that's the truth. I think that he still had a really good year of coaching, but I can say that this game in particular was not a good game for Mike McDaniel for them as a team. And I can admit the context that yes, they were down some players, but that should not be the reason you lose by 23 points to the New York Jets. That's my view. Maybe we'll disagree. But my view is that you can say that these guys were out and it played an impact on the game. But the Dolphins also got outplayed and outcoached, so that's why they lost by 23 points.
A third-string quarterback that's never played in the NFL, 2 left tackles that probably may not belong in the NFL, corners that are backups or a slot, and those are just players?
I hear you. I told you, I put the context out there. We started this conversation, and I told you the importance. You know me. You were trying to tell me all offseason to trade Xavier Howard. I was telling you can't trade Xavier Howard because of how important he is to your team. Do you not remember this? We had conversations about this all offseason.
How's the gimp or limp going now?
So, but I'm telling you, you're playing both sides. You're saying that he's not significant enough. You should trade him away, and then he's hurt.
No.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
I said he was a pain in the ass because of all the baggage.
So let me finish. So Byron Jones obviously is a factor, but let's be real. Even when they were 3-0, they were playing without Byron Jones, and so we don't all of a sudden just say, "Oh, Byron Jones has prevented them from doing all this stuff" when they hadn't played all offseason. Quite frankly, Tua's playing the last 2 games are undefeated. That's so the new thing is the Xavier Howard not being out there, which I think is a big factor. But that being said, you were the guy who told me you should trade him away. He's too big of an issue, that sort of thing. Yeah. And the same token,
the year after,
you're saying that they should get excuses for getting blown out by the Jets because they didn't have Xavier Howard.
And Byron Jones and the two and the quarterback. I mean, it's like you don't have anything that resembles the 11 from last year because you said they brought back the 11. That's what you said on this today. You said they brought back the 11. That's just not accurate. It's not accurate.
They brought back the 11. There are a couple that are hurt right now. Yeah, but they brought back their 11. There are. But I guess my thing is that
but number 10 and 11 are incredibly important from last year.
They are very important.
They change everything you can do on defense, those two guys.
Very important, right? But I will also say that teams deal with injuries, significant injuries, all the time. Like I bring this example up, the Buffalo Bills, which I know Dolphins fans are not going to like to hear this. Buffalo Bills, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are their 2 most important players on defense. They're communicators. They make things work. They are their Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. It may be even more. And they were without them. The Dolphins won that
Josh
game.
Allen, bro. They had Josh Allen.
Hold on.
Don't even try that. Don't even try that.
Hold on.
Josh Allen.
Hold on. The Bills were without them that whole game. And Dolphins fans said, which I agree with, that you don't use excuses. You don't use that as an excuse. We just had
Josh
that.
Allen.
Okay.
Did I not just say about 30 seconds ago, if Tua was playing, what would the Dolphins be?
Okay.
What did I just say?
Right.
Okay. They had Josh Allen. Please don't make that comparison.
Okay. So you don't want to use the Buffalo Bills one, right?
No, you can't make that comparison. When you have Josh Allen, you can't make that comparison.
Okay, so you don't feel like that's a fair comparison? Whatever.
No. It's a ridiculous comparison.
Okay, I'm just telling you.
Ridiculous.
My point there is that look, these injuries, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, you're making these like these destroyed teams. Teams have these injuries all the time.
I just used it on you because you said they brought back the 11, and that's not true. They
did, but 2 are injured. 2 key ones are injured. Yes.
And the 2 tackles are also not there in the damn game. And the starting quarterback is not there in the damn game. You're down to your 3rd guy.
So here's what I would say. I'm sitting here watching the Dallas Cowboys who are playing with Cooper Rush, and they're being led by their defense, and Cooper Rush is keeping them afloat. And so this is a team that does not have their starting quarterback, and they have been winning because their defense has been stepping up to the plate. Issue has been the Dolphins' defense
has been in the NFL 5
of the game.
Rush has been in the NFL 5 years.
Okay.
Skylar Thompson has been in the NFL 5 months, my brother. Come on.
Okay. We'll just agree to disagree. I got you. They lost by 23 points only because they were hurt, and they're good. They're good. There's no worries here. They're just hurt. Once they're healthy, they'll be a great team again. They'll be one of the best teams in the league. There's nothing to worry about. I got you.
Well, hold on a second. Can Armstead get healthy? Is he going to get healthy? Does he need surgery? That puts you up Schitt's Creek. Is Austin Jackson going to come back because Little's not good enough? So that's a problem.
These are factors. But my thing is that you can't control injuries. you can control what you do for the rest of the game. And to me, there are bigger issues here to go along with their injury. That's my whole point. Not to excuse the injuries, they are factors. But to me, watching them play today shows me there are things they need to fix, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, that are beyond just Xavier and Byron Jones being hurt. And so that is my whole point in this.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Points to the Jets,
they haven't been good in pass rush. You're right.
Right. If you give up 40 points to the Jets, even without Xavier and Byron Jones, there are some things that you have to figure out on the defensive side of the ball because you are not the team that you thought you were over the second half of last year.
Fair enough.
That's my point here.
Fair enough. I got you. As long as you don't compare the athletic Sasquatch to this situation. No, seriously, that guy's a freak, bro. I mean, that guy's just sick. By the way, the Detroit thing, is that fuse already done? Like I've said, that rah bullshit only goes so far, bro. You can be a rah coach and all that crap. In the end, it better be about X's and O's. You better get results, and that's why the Dan Campbell thing was really cutesy, but I never believed in it because of that. And look at it now.
Yeah, they got dominated today. And they got dominated by a third-string quarterback, by the way, a rookie third-string.
Well, I think he threw like 100 yards. He didn't really do that much.
He didn't do a ton, but I think they scored like 29 points.
Yeah. But it wasn't really that he was lighting it up. The running back had like 170 yards. And
you
know what they did? You know what they did? Remember the Buffalo game from last year, the 6-3 game? He won other ways and didn't put the quarterback in the position where you have to win the game. And Detroit will beat themselves too. So, they got those coaches arguing with each other. That something's going to come of that. Watch in the next week or two from that staff. Some dominoes going to fall on that staff. That's what's going to end up happening. That was not a normal staff. I don't know did you watch it?
The Lions Patriots game? No, I did not watch the Lions Patriots game.
No.
Why would I watch the Lions Patriots game?
No, Hard Knocks. No,
Hard Knocks. Yes, I did watch Hard Knocks.
No. We should make terrorists that we capture watch those kind of games as torture.
No.
That's what we should do. All right, Cam. We will catch up during the week. Much love.
Yeah.
Safe in your travels, brother.
All right. Appreciate you.
That is the KSDT CPA post-game report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.